All right, well, I'm going to attempt to show you guys, and hopefully you can learn from my mistakes, of how to put this car into what they call service mode. And what that is basically the front bumper comes off and the radiator and all the stuff comes away so that you can open it up and work on your engine. And I'm actually pulling the engine out of this car right now, and I have this engine to put in it. I found the exhaust stuff to be very difficult to get to, and here's one other tip for you guys doing work on your Volkswagen that I wasn't aware is available. And there's two different service things. There's this front end that could come off of the car, and it's not too hard to do. Quite a few bolts to do. It does take a little bit of time, but once that's away, you have access to a lot more of the front of the car. It's much easier to work on. But you know, again, this takeaway is that you got to spend the time to take away all this stuff. Not a very serviceable car, in my opinion. These VWs are actually difficult to work on. But in the back of the engine, right here, you know, actually, yeah, in the back, if you notice that there's all this room, and I've gotten to the computer to unplug this harness, because if you pull the engine on this car, you'd want to pull the harness out of the computer and keep it all on everything, because it is very difficult to find all the plugs, especially while it's in the car. Much easier to do it while it's out or with the service area open. So one of the things they have that you might not be aware of is they have this piece right here. Let me get it for you. You notice there's a lot more room back here. You take off this windshield piece right here. This windshield piece comes off. Basically, you take the wipers off. I'll show you how they come off pretty easily. They have a bolt underneath the cover. There's a little plastic cover that goes over that, and a bolt on there, or a nut. Then the wipers come off, and then this thing comes off with this rubber trim. You take the rubber trim piece off, and then you pull that thing out. It's kind of connected somewhat here, like kind of clipped in here. So you'll notice that you have to kind of work that around a little bit and kind of pull that, and you'll get it to come right out. It's not too hard to get that part out. And then once you get that out, you can see there's two nuts here and here for this stud right there. Okay, and this side has a bolt. Okay, right there. You take that out, and then this piece here comes out, and then what it does is it gives you all this access room back here. So if you're working on your turbo and this is the backside service mode for the car. So you move that out of the way. Now you can get your hands back in here. Like if you have to connect your downpipe, you can actually reach back in here pretty easily. It's not that easy, but a little bit easier. Makes it a little bit more serviceable to work on. So at least they do that in these Volkswagens. I mean, otherwise I would wonder how that they actually assembled this car from the factory. I'm sure that they put that piece in towards the end. So anyway, stick around. Let's see what we can learn together and try to take this front end apart and get it to service mode. I'm going to put some of this in high speed. I'm not sure how much of it, but I'll probably speed up some of it so it makes it a little easier, so you're not watching a 2-hour video. And we'll make it real simple and try to make it work out for you, so you're not spending half your life watching my video. Alright, so the next thing you need to take off real quick is all these plugs here. You need to take off this one. Anything that's plugged into the front of the car. So this headlight plug needs to come out. This thing here is the crash sensor. I'd be really careful taking that off, and do that at your own risk. That needs to come off. And then also the headlight thing there. So unplug all your wires. I showed some of them just real quick in the hyperlapse. This one needs to come off. I don't know if I can film these. I'll just remove them real quick. And those clips are always a pain in the butt. So that's one thing about Volkswagens that's not so fun, is getting those little clips loose. So we've got to get these off and take two hands. I can't really film this, so I'll bring you back in after I get them off. Those will be off, and then we'll continue. I believe at that point there's only 4 bolts in the whole on each side, so 8 bolts, and the whole front section comes off. I think the headlights come with it. We'll find out. I don't know. We'll find out together. I also believe that this one is the driver's side crash sensor. I'm not sure. So again, be really careful. Hoses need to come off. Also the fender wells have to come out. I already had those off. So typically, usually you can remove this clip and then leave the hose connected, but I already have it disconnected. But I might just unscrew this sensor right here myself. So if this was off, I think maybe not. I'd really get in there because I'm not sure how to get that clip out. Some of the clips are, and even if you could, it's really hard to reach. Very hard to take those clips off of these Volkswagens. So anyway, just take your time. It's not a big hurry. You just get it done. And I'll get mine done and I'll bring you back in. Alright, so really quick, I'm going to show you how to get these little things here off. Oh, so you guys can't see it. Let me get you over here. Maybe I can zoom in. Nope. Let me get you down like right there. No, I don't think you can see it. It's going to show you how to get these off. Yeah, there you go. So what you do is the principle of what you're doing is you push these things back on a little bit, and then what I do is I use something like this to get in there because my fingers, I just can't do it. I pull this thing back this way a little bit. You can see I'm pulling it this direction, pulling it that direction, and then it slides off. So if you grab a hold of this with one of these little things here, you kind of get your hook in there, pull on that thing. Be careful, that thing breaks pretty easy. But what that does is that lifts up this little tab. If you can see in here, there's a little tab that lifts up. So sometimes if I can't get it to hook here, I'll reach one of these little things here in, and I'll reach inside and push this up. You can see I reach inside here and push that up sometimes. So if I can't get it to come loose this way, which happens, so if you push it shut a little bit and then pull on this, it helps. But sometimes it's just really hard to do. I really hate those clips, but that's how they work. Let's see if I can get this in frame. I don't know. This little clip here, if you can see right here where my finger is, it's kind of hard to see, but this right here, this little tab, you pull this down and then this unplugs. I promise you it works. It doesn't seem like it's gonna, but when you finally get this thing to go down, wiggle it around enough, it'll finally come off. Just so you know, that's how you get this crash sensor, I believe that's what that is, released. So looks like I have everything except for the 4 bolts. Let's check it out. Alright, well, I forgot something. There's this, needs to come off. Gotta unplug that guy. That's your hood release. and then she's ready to fall. I just got to get a jack underneath it. I'm going to put a jack underneath it so I don't ruin this. It's not that heavy, but it is a little bit heavy. And the thing you want to worry about is your AC hoses. When you move this out, you can move it out of the way, but still it's going to be a pain in the butt because I got to take the car up off the ground. For me, you know, it seems like not a great, you know, fix to me for VW, because how do you jack it up and down with this thing? You're going to have to wire it in place or something crappy like that. But all you got to do is take this off real quick, and I'll do that and bring you back in. So you got to take this clip off, and then you'll lift up these two tabs right here. There's two tabs, you'll lift those up and it should slide out. Let's see. Not quite. You take off this little cover. So you just unclip those two, take this cover off, and then look inside here. You can kind of see what needs to be done. I don't know. Just got to remove that little thing there so that the spring frees up from here and hook it. Probably a little ball and socket or something like that. Yep, exactly. A little ball and socket, and the socket's here. Just snaps in there and then hooks around the edge here. You know, fits in that little slot. This little brass thing here fits in that slot. That's how that works. So let's get the front end off and take a look. Alright, here goes the magic. See you with me. I have no idea. I feel like something else is holding it on. Oh, my other crash sensor. Since I know how to do them. I knew there was two. And we got the AC lines that are holding it in place. Should be able to move this around a bit. Maybe all you get is like this on this car. That's funny. Honestly, that sucks. I figured I could at least bring this all the way out, like I've seen some of them. So that's about all you get there on this car for service mode, looks like. Unless somebody else knows something. I'm not seeing it. It looks like, I'll show you what I'm looking at if I can get this to stabilize. Let's get you guys up here closer. Take a look. So apparently, see, this AC hose is short right here, and it's permanently affixed up there. I don't think you can remove it. I mean, I could maybe remove that clamp there and get a little bit more wiggle room, but I mean, for some repairs this might be easier to do a few things. Like if you're pulling the transmission, one of the guys said it's a lot easier if you just take this off. I don't know if that's really true or not, but because you have to wire this up somehow. That was already like that, the radiator. That wasn't from just now, but that's from before I owned the car. Somebody did something there, but it's not a big deal really. It doesn't leak. So, but you know, this would be good for some things, and like I said, you'd have to figure out how to wire this out, and I'm gonna probably have to do that to pull the engine. My concern with pulling the engine is this AC compressor needs to be a little more out of the way, and it was going to damage the radiator probably trying to get it out. I could pull the radiator out. The other thing I could do is, I think, pull the condenser out of here. I'm not sure how buried that is. Probably the intercooler's in there too. So I got the intercooler, the condenser, all that's in the front here. But I thought, like the Passat, that you could kind of move this thing out of the way. It doesn't look like you can very easily. I mean, if you needed to, you could take off the AC hoses, you know, but then you got to recharge the system. I don't like to do that on cars. Usually I don't like to take the AC hoses off unless I need to, because if the AC is working good, I leave it alone. You know, I don't service them anymore. I used to, back years ago, used to evacuate and recharge. No, I don't do that. Not unless it's got a problem. I don't know if this thing's going to lay down like that or not. Yeah, it's been in that hose. I got to be careful. Alright, so I made a management decision here on mine, and I went ahead and removed the AC lines. So I'll have to recharge it. It's not really that hard to do. If you don't, you know, you shouldn't. I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do, but you might be in an area where you're not allowed to do that without an evacuation system. But if you weren't in one of those areas, I'm just saying, if you weren't, you could get one of these things at Harbor Freight Tools and evacuate your system, and then after you're all done, you can use this to. What this does is, this is a vacuum pump. You can vacuum, bring your whole system down to a vacuum, and then recharge it with Freon. And you can just get the stuff at most auto parts stores. I know you guys in Canada, unfortunately for you, you have a stupid liberal government and they don't allow you to buy Freon. But somewhere on one of these underhood labels it shows how much Freon to put in it. Can't remember which one. Oh, right here. So this car is R134A. You know, you should always inspect that to make sure, because I don't know what country you're in. Maybe they have different rules. And then 525 grams of Freon to recharge it. So after it's evacuated, then you can recharge it with 525 grams. I know when I was in Canada, just so you guys know, I actually went down across the border because I got quotes for Freon places. And not telling you to bring it across, but you know, it's available across the border, and I did that. I went across the border and got Freon over there. I'm not going to tell you I brought it across the border again, but I'll leave that up to you. Because honestly, I really think that is ridiculous. It's supposed to be a green Freon we're using now. What was the point of changing that over? You know, all these liberal government people think that you're doing everybody a favor by changing over these new products, and you know, and all this stuff. In R134 is supposed to be clean, you know, green product. Well, if it isn't, then why did we change it from R12? You know, why did we spend millions of dollars, all this time and research and all this other stuff because it's not better, and change everything if it wasn't significantly better? But what? So these guys, these government people, this is how they work. You know, they say, oh well, we saved 2% in emissions for the world. Oh, okay, yeah, but it costs us 20% to change all this stuff over to the labs and all the manufacturing facilities and making recycling bottles. Like in California, they have recycling things for Freon. Like in California, they don't have the little pin that goes in here. It actually is a can that has a $10 recycling fee. $10 to recycle it. Take it back to the store and you get your $10 back. Oh, because there's a little tiny bit left, and the little tiny bit left, you know, could go into the atmosphere. It's like, what was the idea of making this stuff anyway? What was the whole idea of making R134 if it's not good for the environment? That's why I tell you guys, look, you know, if you're voting for liberals, I'm telling you, they are not there to really do good. All they're doing is just churning stuff to make you feel better. It doesn't really help. The stuff they're doing doesn't really do anything. Making these cans right here and making them so that you have to go recycle it, the fuel cost, the environmental waste of going back to the store and returning this thing every time I go back, and the sending them back and all that other stuff in the big trucks and everything, all the emissions waste from that is far more than what you save by doing a recycle can. It's just stupid. That's the way they work. They're just idiotic. Don't vote for them. All they do is borrow from Peter to pay Paul and make it seem like they're doing something, and they're not. So, you know, if you're thinking that you're being green by voting for them, you're not. It doesn't help. You know, I mean, we should do things for the environment that work. I'm all for that. But when you do stuff just to churn money and to make people feel good, no, I'm not about that. I think that's that's horrible for everyone because it just causes more tax dollars. Like in Canada, all this tax dollars and everything else for all that Freon and stuff, you know, and all it does is make businesses go, oh, well, you can't buy Freon at the store, so I'm going to charge you, instead of charging $100, I'm going to charge $300 to recharge your system. So that's what they do over there. We don't want that in America. Vote different. Get these guys out of office. Anyway, just thought I'd just throw that in at the end. Like it, dislike it, whatever. I'd like to see your comments either way, even about that last part, or about getting the front end of your car off. I think that actually is going to help me save a lot more time. And I'll just put everything on it and put it back in. And it'll be a whole lot easier, I think, to do this engine. So that's your service mode. I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'd like to see your comments. Please like the video. Make sure you do that. Thank you.